Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of our FPL show. It's game week 30 now. Jesus Christ. We really are getting to the business end of the season. I'm joined today by Rod. How you doing, mate?
I am not too bad. Yourself?
I'm all good, bud. Yeah, it was kind of an interesting weekend slash midweek of football. We had quite a few games on. Also had European football on, which was depressing as fuck. We still got a game left tonight in the Premier League. We're recording this on Thursday around 1 o'clock, so can't make full observations of how our game weeks went, I guess. I think I can. I don't think I've got anyone playing tonight anyway. But yeah, Rod, you just got back from Turkey, man. How was it?
Yes, mate. Istanbul, bro. I've got, I've got very good. I've got very good memories because I've really, really enjoyed it. It's such an interesting city and nice blend of Asian European culture. And mate, it was just really nice to get away for a few days. And I managed to catch some football while I was out there, Premier League wise. But most of
Uh,
it, I was just touring the city, mate.
I thought you was just watching like the Super League or somewhere. Like, what's it called? The Turkish league. But yeah. Um, was the weather nice? I guess as a very British thing to ask.
Mate, to be honest, obviously our first flight got cancelled. We were meant to head off around midday due to a heavy snowstorm. We managed to get there basically the next morning, early morning. But it was just, to be honest, mate, the weather the first couple of days was like England, and then the last couple of days that we were there, it was really nice, mate. It was just sunny, nice little breeze. But mate, decent few days to be fair, bro. New place, and that's country number 23 to my list. So
Yeah,
we'll keep
man.
it moving.
He's here. He's there. He's every fucking where. Rodeo on. Anyway, yeah, man. I'm pretty jealous. It sounds pretty nice. But let's get into fantasy football, man. It's a bit of a weird one. I really didn't check my team until today. I just let it rest. I forgot who I had in my team. I just wanted to, check on the day of recording, and I'd say I had a decent week. It was above the average, but it wasn't. The pinnacle of success. Probably made the wrong captain choice. I should have captained Kane in hindsight. But it is what it is. Our captain Salah, he got me 20. Kuleveski got me 11. Harry Kane got me 14. Rafinha only got me 5. That is what it is. Trent got me 13. Cancelo 9. Those are really my big hitters. But yeah, I ended on 83 points. I'm fairly happy with it. I'm back up into third in our league. I'm a fair way off second. But it is what it is. Anyway, Rod, how'd you go?
Oh, mate, it was a weird one. So Friday, I had a few beers, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm going to take a hit. I'll take Ramsey out for Kulusevski, and I'll bench boost." Yeah, the drunk moves are always the best moves. In hindsight, they're not. So I took Ramsey out, considering he did nothing for weeks. Take him out, and of course, he scores 10 points. I mean, Kulusevski got me 11, but I've still ended up losing points because Ramsey was out for a hit.
Do you know what it is as well, Rod? Every time I have Ramsey as the last place on my bench,
Balls,
he
I've noticed that.
because he got 10 points, and I was like, "Fuck!" I just saw it today because I like obviously I watched the football, but I just forgot about my team completely. But yeah, carry on. Sorry.
And then obviously Luca Dean got injured 10 minutes in, so he scored me basically, well, 9 minutes it says here, 1 point. Antonio didn't play 60. I think he probably come off injured. Got me 1 point. Jota didn't start the first game. If Diaz squared it to him, he scores, but Livramento didn't play. But, mate, I've finished on 90 points. My bench getting me 20, so not bad for a bench boost, I guess, but
Yeah,
overall, mate, bit disappointed, but yeah,
yeah, yeah.
another from 78 to 83k, so not happy days. And obviously, there's still a game tonight, so yeah,
I can't believe you're going down so quick. What like? How far are you off? Because I know your goal's 25k, right?
yeah, it's pretty. I had a look yesterday, and I'm 27 points off 50k, so I'm probably like 50 off 20. So it's just, I don't know what's happened, mate, the last couple of weeks. To be completely honest with you,
Look,
I think I'm not on Twitter anymore, and I use Twitter quite a bit to help me with my knowledge. So I'm going to put it down to that. But apart from that, it's
you've
not been going great so far.
you've been nicking everyone's tips and that, bro. I see how you're doing. But to be fair, I think you played it really well. In terms of how you've like kept your wild cards and your free hits and stuff like that. I'm definitely someone who's rushed into decisions, and you can see that right now with I have played my final free hit for this upcoming weekend. So basically, just scrapped the whole team and built it from scratch this morning. I was just looking at the fixtures and trying to pick a team which was strong. And you know what? I've got Ramsey in the last place on my bench. I better switch that to the second place just so I don't get cursed with it. But yeah, I'm not too sure if this is the team I'm going to stick with. I'll probably keep these players, but I'll just switch them around probably. So I got Jose Sarr in goal. I got Reguilon, Aït-Nouri, Rigo Henry, and Connor Cody in defence. I got Ericsson, Son, and Barnes in midfield. And I've got Lacazette, Watkins, and Kane up front. My bench is Schmeichel, Coutinho, Ramsey, and Tierney. I'm going to captain Kane. I think he's probably the strongest option. I just think I don't see West Ham keeping a clean sheet, and I could see it being quite a high-scoring game. I was kind of tempted with the Arsenal players, man, against Villa. I was really disappointed with them in their last game. And I think Arsenal have proven to be the sort of team where I just underestimate them. Not like on paper, their team doesn't shout things at me like other teams do, but they consistently get results. The one for me is the Leicester game. I just don't know how that one's going to go. Brentford against Leicester.
I was going to suggest, or just listening to your team then, I see like you've gone 3 Wolves defenders, and I get the logic behind that. But have you maybe thought about maybe getting 1 Leicester defender in there? Because obviously if Leeds do score, which I wouldn't be surprised if they did, that kind of wipes out 3 players straight away. So if maybe put a Leicester defender in there. I mean, Brentford, I haven't been too pleased with them recently. And then maybe instead of Watkins, who's been quite disappointing, and we've talked about him all season really, haven't we? Maybe Daka. Just a couple of suggestions there.
Yeah, I see that one. The reason I've gone with the 3 Wolves is because I do still rate Wolves. Obviously, I'd have to check the scores. What was the Wolves game? Yes, they beat Everton 1-0 with the Connor Cody goal. And I just think they're so good defensively. And for me, I don't think Leeds are good enough to score against them. And I do think Brentford are going to score. I think it might be like a 2-1 game. That's just me personally, though. I think the Daka move is probably a correct decision because I'm not very happy with Watkins up front. I might even bring Coutinho into the midfield. I think I just see in my head when I think about Brentford against Leicester, I can just see Harvey Barnes scoring. It just seems like the sort of game he scores in. So yeah, that's the team I've gone with anyway, Rod. You're not free hitting this week at all, are you? You're saving it for game week. No, you're wild carding on 33 and free hitting when?
I'm wild carding 31, free hitting 33. And this week, well, I've got 8 players currently without any transfers made, but 2 of them are injured with Antonio and Dean. So I'm currently on 6 if you exclude them. So I think I'll be taking a hit to get me to 8. So I'm likely to go Jota to Coutinho or Martinelli, and then Livramento to Connor Cody, I think. So that should put me to 8. Which, I mean, I think the ceiling for this game week, if you're not free hitting, is quite low. So hopefully I'm not punished too much, but it's a bit of a weird one, really.
Yeah, it is a weird game week. Only 4 games, and they're sort of games where I guess you could say there's not too much on the line for any of these teams. I think they're all pretty much safe. I think Arsenal's the only team who are really... Well, Leeds aren't safe, sorry. But I just don't see Leeds winning. It's like a game which is just not going to happen for me. So it's like one which I'm blanking out. But Arsenal need to get a result against Villa to continue their fight for top 4. Spurs is pretty much out of it. But yeah, it's a weird game week. Like the Leicester-Brentford game, nothing really on the line. Spurs-West Ham, same. Obviously, the Leeds need to get a result, but Wolves, it doesn't really matter. And Villa, their season's pretty much over already.
Yeah, and obviously Spurs West Ham, they've got exactly the same amount of points. West Ham obviously haven't played one more game than Spurs. That could be quite an interesting one to mount some pressure on Arsenal. And obviously Arsenal do have games in hand, and they'll have 3 in hand. No, they'll have 2 in hand. No, before obviously Villa play Arsenal, so Yeah, it's actually quite an interesting one in regards to top four.
Yeah. Sorry, my throat is awfully like weird today. I had to go to the doctor's the other day just to get some blood taken, and I think I picked up like a little cold, so I'm a bit snotty in that. So I do apologise to the listeners. In terms of like, yeah, I think it is it's not a dead week of football because some of the games are actually really interesting. I really like the Spurs West Ham game. That just seems like an exciting game to me. The way they'll probably play. Obviously, West Ham now without Antonio, who got injured the other day, pretty disappointing. But just take a look back on some of the other scores, Rod. I mean, I guess we could start with United against Spurs. That I can't really praise United too much because obviously we've had a Champions League since then, but I don't really want to talk about Champions League because we're going to do a Champions League video tomorrow. What did you think about the United Spurs result in general?
I mean, it was a Ronaldo masterclass. Some well taken goals, especially the first.
Yeah,
To be honest, mate, I didn't really. I thought Spurs would have won it.
yeah,
But
I did as
obviously,
well. Actually, no, you
big.
predicted a United win.
I did.
Yeah,
Okay, in hindsight, I mean, yeah. I mean, to be honest, when you've got a player like Ronaldo, anything can happen, and a hat trick, and you could see the rage in his. He just wanted to get some redemption, and he just did very well, really, didn't he?
he had a great game. I think he answered a lot of the questions, and like even me, I was talking to Danny about it. It wasn't so much that I thought he was bad in the games. It was just like things that he's normally so good at, like just in terms of finishing, he just didn't look the same. I think this game was a bit of a throwback, and hopefully he can continue his form. He'd be a great fantasy asset if he could. But yeah, in that game, I think it highlighted stuff of both teams. I thought Spurs were a bit, I don't know, just toughless. I thought Kane and Son went a bit missing in the game. Son must have been wearing flip flops. He fell over so many fucking times. Obviously, didn't have the right studs on. But in terms of United, I think it highlighted positives and negatives. I think we looked a bit more dangerous. I thought Ronaldo was outstanding once again. I think the hardest goal he scored was from the corner, the header, just because he's hit off balance by the player in the box. I think on United's end, they conceded a penalty, which I thought was, it's probably a penalty, but it's a bit harsh at the end of the day as well because he's running and his hand's out because he's running, but it is what it is. But the other goal, Harry Maguire, man, I don't know how long this guy can stay in a United shirt for. I saw someone commented something like, if you told me Harry Maguire had won a like ITV prize and it was like, and ring this number to enter the contest, and if you win, you can play as the Manchester United captain for one game, like you wouldn't be shocked. And it's true. It's like a Make a Wish Foundation kid, like getting to play for United sort of thing. And this guy is so poor. I think he'd be good for a team like Burnley, but. I mean, even in midweek, which I don't want to talk too much about, but I thought United started well with the high line, and I thought in the second half, for some reason, we played so deep, and that man is shit. Honestly, I just find it really confusing. I think our best centre-back partnership is probably Lindelof and Varane. I don't think Varane's really put a foot wrong since he's come into the United team. I think he's looked brilliant. I really like him as well. His ability on both feet. He's able to switch the ball on his left foot really nicely. I've started to notice in the past few games. Really confident on the ball. I think in terms of the Premier League, it was a much needed result for Manchester United, but obviously since then we've definitely lost the momentum with the midweek exit of the Champions League world.
Yeah, I feel like Maguire, the pressure's just too much for him. And some players thrive under pressure and others capitulate. And I think being the Man United captain of one of the biggest teams in the world, arguably probably the biggest team in the world, it's just too much for him. And I can understand it, mate, because there's a hell of a load of pressure. And I don't think he's got the ability to ever become a world class centre back. I think on his day he's simply just a good one.
Yeah.
I don't think he's average. I think he's just simply on his day he's a good one. And unfortunately, when things are going downhill, they can roll into a big snowball very quickly.
Do you know what makes me laugh, right? I remember when he was at Hull City And my driving instructor at the time, he was a Liverpool fan. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're getting Harry Maguire," and I was like, "Harry Maguire's shit, mate. What do you want him for?" And he was telling me how good he is. And then he came into the United side, and I was like, "Oh yeah," I was kind of excited because of the things he'd done with Leicester and England, but just thinking about it, it's a terrible move in the long term. That you cannot be United centre back when you have zero pace, and I think Rio Ferdinand was a good example of it. He was brilliant at his time at United, but you saw when the legs went, he was just before he moved to QPR, it started going downhill. But yeah, it's just it's a hard one, Rod. What other game do you want to get onto, Rod? Should we talk Arsenal? So they picked up a 2-0 win against Leicester. Thought they deserved it. I didn't think Leicester offered all too much. I remember, who scored? I'm gonna have to get this game up. I've got to try and remember the game. Partey and Lacazette. Partey at the crossbar as well. I thought they played well, man, in that game. But then last night Wednesday night, losing against Arsenal 2-0. Against Liverpool, sorry, 2-0. I think it's the same thing I've always kind of said. I just don't think they can hang with the big boys. But nevertheless, if they do manage to get top four, it's a amazing achievement in my opinion for Mikel Arteta, who is kind of against the odds, because at the start of the season, I didn't think they'd finish anywhere near it, but especially with the squad they've got, I think their squad is lacking quite a bit. I think now as well, when you look at the striker options, especially on FPL, the only one who's noticeable is Lacazette, and I don't really think he's at his best anymore. But thoughts on Arsenal, Rod, for past two games? Obviously 2-0 win against Leicester and 2-0 defeat at home to Liverpool.
What's the thing with Arsenal? I think a big testament to Arsenal's recent successes, Thomas Partey. I think keeping him fit is vital, because he just gives that surety in midfield. He's composed, he's a good ball winner, and for me, he's a very good number 6. So keeping him fit is needed for Arsenal to obviously secure top 4. And going forward, I'm a big fan of Odegaard and Martinelli as of late. I think Martinelli, especially last night against Liverpool, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And to be honest, he turned Trent inside out all game, and probably one of the sparks of the Arsenal team. But yeah, I think they need some more quality in the summer, and they need some experience, because when the business end of the season now, they're in a good position, and they just need to keep this run up. Obviously, they've got Villa on the weekend, which they're going to be looking at as they could probably win it, and I think they will win it. We'll get onto that shortly, though. But they've got some big games coming up, and to be honest, credit to Arteta, and I mean they're 4th with a couple games in hand, and obviously win those games in hand, and they're quite clear of Man United. So yeah, it's credit to Arteta and his team. I think they've done really well this year.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think like what you said about they do need investment in the summer. I think for me, if I was the person in charge of bringing in the transfers at Arsenal, I'd be bringing in someone who can play, that 8 role alongside Partey at 6. I'd be bringing in another centre back just because I'm not too sure about Ben White long term, just because I don't rate him that highly. Every time I've watched him, he looks like he's got a mistake in him. I'm more of a fan of Gabriel alongside him, and for me, they definitely need one, if not maybe 2 strikers, just because of the lack of depth. I think Lacazette is, I don't know, he's just kind of aged overnight for me. He's still doing it somehow, but he just doesn't, he just doesn't pass the eye test for me. I think I think his stats would probably disagree with me, but he doesn't pass the eye test for me. So, but I think the one positive for them is they have, started to get a bit of a spine going through the team. I still think they lack a bit of leadership, for sure. Someone who can really, grab them by the scruff of their necks and, give them some fucks and stuff like that. But I think for me, the highest point for me would be that 3 playing behind the striker. Odegaard, I think, was, he didn't really show too much on his loan spell from Real Madrid, but they ended up going and buying him anyway, and I think he's been really good this season. And with Saka and Martinelli, either side of him, I think that's a really young core, which is going to be, if they stay fit, they could be there for the next 10 years, and it's probably a really exciting time to be an Arsenal fan going forward.
Yeah, 100%. And I think in your comments in regards to Ben White, I can't imagine they're going to sign a new centre back. Obviously, they bought Ben White for the future, 50 million. I think they can obviously stick with him, but they need a striker. I completely agree with you. Like, especially when the games pile up
Yeah.
next year. I mean, I was watching. I can't remember who I was watching. I think it was the True Geordie, and they were saying how Arsenal obviously they went out of all of the competitions early. They weren't in Europe, so they have had less games to focus on and to get results compared to teams around them. Which I think that's quite a good point, because obviously when the games are piling up, fitness concerns, injury concerns, etc., it can get a bit too much. So I think that is, we've got to remember that when we look at Arsenal's position in the league. Obviously, United
Yeah.
have been basically all of the competitions and they've progressed. So
We haven't been in that many. It doesn't feel like this season, just because of like FA Cup out straight away. I can't remember us in the Carabao. I think we might have got through one round and then we was out again. And Champions League round of 16, we're fucking out. But I think no European football's a massive factor. I think with Arsenal though as well, I think why I'd bring another centre back in as well is because Gabriel and Ben White are quite young, and I think the centre back position is kind of one where you don't really see players probably get to their best until they're around the age of 28. Just because of like, I think certain characteristics which you probably get with age, being a more experienced player, stuff like that. And I think they're extremely young at the centre-back position. It's like, even if they was to bring back Saliba, who I've heard done great in France, which I think you got to take with a bit of a pinch of salt, but he's a highly rated talent. It's like, they don't have that experience. They haven't got many leaders for me. I think what they need is a really, like, it's hard, because I don't want to say a big name, but like, someone who could go into that centre mid position, because for me, I think Xhaka's got a great game in him every season. I think he showed that in Euros. But quality wise, over the course of a 38 game season, I don't know if he's dependable enough.
Yeah, I think they just need investment, and they need a good few players, because obviously we're in Europe. It's quite demanding. You need to be able to rotate, bring players off the bench, and that's how teams progress. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'd be happy with the position they're in, and Europe is now in their hands. I mean, it's been in their hands for a few weeks now, but it's theirs to lose.
Yeah, I completely agree. Anyway, just before we get on to City and Liverpool, I just wanted to talk about this Chelsea-Newcastle game. I'm not sure if you saw it or not, but I was really impressed with that game. I think it showed the fact that Chelsea is still a good team, but not only that, but the levels that Newcastle have got to, where I felt like for majority of the game, it wasn't like Chelsea were taking over the game at any point. It felt like Newcastle were really competitive in the game, and I thought it was just not just signs of intent, but just signs of how much they've leveled up since Eddie Howe's come in, and even with injuries, they've looked good. I was really impressed. I thought Kai Havertz's goal was amazing, by the way. The first touch to bring that ball down was immense, and they looked close to scoring again late on when I think it was Kai Havertz again who hit the bar after the keeper save. But yeah, it was a good game, that one, Rod. I don't know if you saw it or not.
It's interesting you say that. Obviously, I didn't manage to catch it, but as we've been talking, I've been looking at some of the stats, XG and things like that, and obviously, XG wise, Chelsea 1.07 to Newcastle's 0.25, and then Chelsea had 73% possession, eight shots compared to Newcastle's 7. So obviously, I didn't watch it, so I can't really gauge the game. But going off the stats, it looks like Chelsea were quite dominant throughout the game, and
yeah, I think it's hard to say, like, in like off the eye test. Like, obviously you can have possession and not do all too much with it, but for me it felt like Newcastle that they were in the game at all times, and obviously Chelsea didn't score until late on. Yeah, they probably should have had a couple more goals, but for me I just felt that Newcastle just showed signs of how far they've leveled up since Eddie's come in. What's his name again? Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe. I might have called him Eddie Hearn before. I've been watching a lot of fucking boxing shit recently. But yeah, I mean, I guess the possession stats probably show, the domination of Chelsea in terms of you know, keeping the ball, and I think they've got players in their squad which really allow them to do that. But I don't think that's what this Newcastle side's really about. I think they're about more being more direct, getting teams on the counter attack, and I thought they did a great job, especially that. I think it was John. Was it John Ju? No, it wasn't John Ju. He was missing. Someone took a. It might have been Almer on with a long shot. It was a really good one. But yeah, it was a cracking game. Let's go on to City, Rod. They drew 0-0 with Crystal Palace, and I thought coming into this game it was kind of like the game that's obviously they lost a reverse leg, City did at home, but it was a sort of game where this is where they'll drop points. I thought Palace might have got the win, and you know they had a couple of chances themselves, Palace. I thought City, in terms of the chances they've created in this game, they obviously had a lot of shots. 4 shots on target though, out of 19 shots. I mean, this is not the best, but I felt like City were having those. They didn't have like the clear cut chance where they just cut a team open like insanely well, but they had these chances where the ball kind of like dropped to them and they fuck it up. It was like the one which comes to mind is Bernardo Silva and Laporte. It just felt like it wasn't meant to be their night, Rod.
I did, yeah. I managed to catch the highlights last night, so I saw the key chances they had. And, I mean, we were talking last week, and Palace and Spurs seem to just be City's bogey teams where they don't really. I mean, as of late, they haven't got the result against them. But I mean, Palace, to be completely honest, fair play to manage to draw against City, and it kind of just the title race is even more exciting now. And yeah, but talking about City's chances, they should have scored, I think. Yeah, you highlighted the Laporte one. I mean, it came at him quite fast, but I still think he should be scoring. And obviously, Bernardo's touch. Grealish created a few. So, yeah, it just wasn't their day, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it just felt like that. And, like, in terms of, like, they weren't, like, the City chances of, like, the normal ones where they just slice teams open and they've got great chances to score. It was, like, sloppy ones where it just came to them and they had a chance, and good chances at that. They just fucked it up, and it left the door open for Liverpool to go to the Emirates and close the gap to 1 point, which they did, Rod, with a 2-0 victory. It was quite a good game, I thought, for the Arsenal-Liverpool game, Rod.
I think this game was huge. Obviously, City drawing on Monday. Arsenal in great form. Liverpool probably, this was the worst time they could face Arsenal. Obviously, Salah was probably carrying a little bit of a knock. I mean, he started on the bench. Obviously, yeah, Arsenal hot form. But I think what Liverpool did and what Jurgen Klopp did brilliantly was make the subs at the right time. For me, before the Jota goal, I thought he was having an average game at best. He probably shouldn't have scored what he did. I think it was a bit of a mistake from Ramsdale. And then I think about a minute or so after he got taken off, and they brought on Firmino and Diaz, and instantly they had an impact. And what Liverpool just did right was they managed to grind out the game. Going away to the Emirates is never nice. You need to quiet the crowd quickly. Arsenal did have their chances, but for me, it just showed why Liverpool are one of the best teams in the world at the moment, and the way they can win when things aren't completely going their way is very good.
Yeah, I thought it was a tidy game. I think it'd be unfair to say Arsenal weren't that good. I thought they were solid, especially in the first half. I think, like you said, the substitutions really did change the game. I thought Robertson was brilliant in that game, to be fair. He got the assist for the Firmino goal. They were just very direct in that sense with the fullbacks, I thought, as they always are. But yeah, closes the gap, Rod. For me personally, I think it really suits Liverpool, kind of chasing down City. There's something about City where, like I said, I think it's going to bite them in the ass, the fact that they didn't bring in a striker, bring in a different option in January. And Liverpool did that with Luis Diaz, who is a player who is very direct, and then he offers them something different. Obviously, they already had Jota, who I think is a brilliant player as well. But I think it suits Liverpool chasing City down and putting the pressure on them. But I think it suits City as well, defending it. You know, it's a very interesting end to the season. I think it could really go to the final day, if I'm being honest, like it did a few years ago, right, when City won the league and Liverpool was so close.
I mean, 100%. Like these are two of the best teams in the world, and the way the gap has now been cut to simply 1 point. I mean, it's come down to if Man City win all their games, they win the league. If Liverpool win all their games, they win the league. Obviously, they've got to face each other soon, so
Yeah,
it's really interesting title race. And Liverpool have just showed. I think Liverpool are a better side now, and they've got a better team now than when they did win the Champions League and when they did win the league. And having subs like bringing Diaz on or bringing Firmino on or whatever, it just shows the quality they got. And
yeah.
I'm I'm still salty about Jack Grealish, and we're 30 games into the season. I would love it if City choked the league, and I would love it if they choked the Champions League. So
I'd love it
I'm
if
not.
like I'm happy with neither teams winning the Champions League, but I'd be pissed if City allow Liverpool to get to 20 titles, man. I mean, yeah, it is. I think that game is so big, the Liverpool City game. I don't know how far away is that game now.
First weekend of April, maybe. No, the second, maybe.
Yes, it's on the 10th of April. It's on Super Sunday. I think it's really interesting, man. I think to see how this ends out turning like how it ends up. I mean, just looking at the results, City have won 22, drawn 4, and Liverpool have won 21, drawn 6. But when you look at their goals and goals against, it's so similar. City 68-18 and Liverpool 75-20. They're so. How would you say it? They're so like close in terms of quality. I think City edge it with the depth they've got, but not having someone to just play through the middle as a traditional number 9. I think a lot of people go, oh, well, they won the league without one. I just think just even someone who's not first team ready, just someone off the bench maybe to play in that position would really help them. More of an out and out 9, someone who's got a bit more about them, in the 6-yard box. But yeah, it's. I think it's coming down. It's coming down to the wire rod, definitely. Anything else to take away from the last game week's games, Rod? Anything else?
I think just to quickly touch on Villa. I was obviously in Turkey, so I didn't manage to catch the game. I watched, I think, about 10 minutes of it while I was drinking a beer. But looking at the stats, it looked like we put up a decent fight. But I've spoken to a few people, and they said that we were a bit poor. And I think you managed to watch it, so you'll be able to give me a little bit of an idea what the eye test was saying.
Yeah, I only managed to watch the highlights in the Villa game. But yeah, it was one of those games. I think Jared's had a few of them where there's certain games where Villa just look up for it, and they either put up a great fight against one of the big teams, or they get a great result against some of the smaller teams or something like that. This was just kind of like the middle ground where they looked a bit flat, in all honesty. Who was it who got the goal? Was it Watkins who got the goal? I can't really remember now.
It was Ramsey.
Ramsey, yeah. That was a great goal, and it had me thinking, like, he's like really similar to Jude Bellingham in a way, isn't he? He's a great dribbler of the ball. He's willing to put in a challenge. He can score goals, yeah, and a similar builds and everything, and like height and that. That you've got a talent on your hands in him. But yeah, it was Yarmolenko and Fornals. I can remember the Yarmolenko goal. It was a big moment, wasn't it? It's the first time he's played since the shit's happened in Ukraine.
Yeah, I saw the goals. I mean, not a bad finish from Yarmolenko, and it was well played for the Fornals goal. And I think the problem with Villa this year, it's just been consistency. And I think the West Ham game was going to be a real test of where we kind of are this year. Obviously, it's unlikely we're going to get Europe before the West Ham game, and it's pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
But I guess we've got a platform to build off for next year, and we just need to improve the consistency. And I think we just need to buy a few more real winners. Losing, obviously, Dean on the 10th minute with a hamstring injury is not great at all. I've really been impressed by him. So we're probably going to be playing Ashley Young there for the remainder of the season, if depending on how bad the injury is. But looking at Ramsey's stats, I mean, he reminds me of, yeah, like you said, Bellingham. I quite like the comparison. He's got 6 goals this year and 1 assist, and he's a good dribbler.
They're both from Brum as well, aren't they?
You what? Sorry,
both from Brum.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, sorry, you were just saying about his goals and assists, I think.
And Jacob Ramsey's goals are they're quite technical and they're quite nice finishes. And obviously he's 20 years old and he can do anything. I think he's got the ability to go all the way, and hopefully Gerrard can mould him into a brilliant player. And obviously playing with the likes of Coutinho, etc., are all just going to make him a better player. So, I mean, yeah, 9? I think we've got 9 games left. So just get as many points as we can and experiment with some new things, try some new partnerships, etc. I think we're in a position now where we can do that. We can't really do anything. We can't get relegated. We can't get Europe. So it's just about getting some momentum together, getting some bonds and forming some relationships between the players, I guess.
Yeah, firstly, on Jude, I kind of gave this comparison out to Doucouré. At the start of the season when I called him the Audi Yaya Toure, but Bellingham does have a bit of the Yaya Toure about him, and like the way he drives with the ball, he's so special. And I think despite losing this game, it's not the be all or end all for Villa. Like you said, it's something to build off of. You know, it's a really good sort of game to know where you're at the moment. I think West Ham's a good team to do that against. They're not they're a team who's probably overperformed this season, if not got to where they're supposed to be. I really like this Villa team. I think there's a lot of room for improvement, but I also think there's some brilliant players in that Villa squad. I think, you know, for me, the problem kind of has been around the centre-half position. Mings, for me, it's a bit of a hard one, isn't it? Because how do you go about it? He's the club captain, but if you want to get higher up in the table, he's one of those sort of players you have to sacrifice, I think, anyway. And the other one would be striker for me. I know you like Watkins, but he kind of irritates me. I don't mind him as an impact player. I think he's got a lot of qualities which make him a special player, but for me, he isn't consistent enough in front of goal. I think it'd be interesting if you bring back Coutinho on a full transfer. I really love the midfield balance, man, of having someone like Jude Bellingham, fucking hell, Ramsey in there, and John McGinn, who I think is a very special player. And I think for a long time I've been saying it, I think John McGinn would be a perfect player in that Liverpool sort of setup. But yeah, go ahead, Rod.
I think, yeah, obviously we've got Marvelous Nakamba hopefully coming back in April from his injury that kept him out from November. But I think we need a 6, and there's been talks all year for some reason, especially around January. I mean, Watkins is an Arsenal fan. We know, I think Arteta admires Watkins quite a bit, and he kind of still fits that young profile. There's talks of him going to Arsenal. I mean, it would have to be 50 million plus, I imagine.
Fucking 50 million, that is. I mean, if they offered me 50 million, like if he was in my team, I'd fucking bite their hand off. I think, like you've seen with, I mean, it's hard to say, but it's kind of like Burnley. You know how they sold Chris Wood for 25 million and they was able to go and get Weghorst, who, in my opinion, is a far superior player. Dutch international striker for half the price, and I think you could do that with Villa. I think there's plenty of options out there for you to actually level up on Watkins if you get a deal of that, you know, sort of price range.
I think obviously we bought him for 30 million, so I think they're going to want to get a profit on him. And I'd say he's probably a proven Premier League striker. He does frustrate me at times, and I was talking to Harvey the other day, and I don't think Watkins has got the credentials to go to the very top. I think his ceiling's probably been slightly better than good striker. I don't think a brilliant striker, and I don't think an average striker. Probably slightly better than good, only just. But
I think he's an average Premier League centre forward. I don't think he he's not clinical enough for me. It's the other attributes I look at, and I think he's great at bringing people into play, backing up into the centre half. He's very explosive on the turn, a good dribbler as well. I just, if he could score on a regular basis, and like he had a 1-in-2 goal record for Villa, or 1-in-3, something like that, he'd be phenomenal. It's just that finishing, man.
I'm just interested, to be completely honest, to see what we do with. Obviously, we've got Ings and Watkins. What if maybe we get rid of one in the summer, or how that's going to work? Because I imagine Gerrard, he's going to obviously have a full pre-season. He's probably already got an idea what he wants his squad to look like for next year, and it is quite an exciting time, to be completely honest, because we've seen Gerrard. He's got a style of play. I see what the philosophy is. I know what he wants to do, and it's going to be interesting to see where we shred our team, where we buy players, where we invest. And it's quite an exciting time. This is why I'm not too bothered about what happens now. Like I said, the season's pretty redundant, but I'd love to see us put some good performances together, play some nice football, and basically, mate, just test new things. And obviously, we've got Arsenal on Saturday at 12:30, and I'd love to put a dampener on Arsenal's top four hopes. I'd love to see us get a result at Villa Park there.
I would love it.
Obviously, we played Arsenal at the Emirates, I think in September, October time. And I thought we were a bit poor. I mean, they beat us 3-1 quite comfortably. So I'd love to see us beat Arsenal on Saturday, and yeah.
Yeah, man. How nuts is it that they paid 100 million for Grealish, and I think I keep calling him Bellingham. He just reminds me of him so much. But if you could have got Ramsey for half of that, and I think he's actually the better talent.
His dribbling ability is phenomenal, to be completely honest, and he's just quite strong on the ball.
I just like the fact that he's not just an attacking midfielder. He loves to go in for a challenge, and I think that actually would have suited City more, just because of how they've gotten De Bruyne and like Bernardo Silva as players who are attacking minded midfielders, but they play this role where they're not. They also play defensive. Like, do you know what I mean?
Obviously, we've got the England squad in 5 minutes, and if he managed to make it somehow onto that, which I think in his position is quite loaded, so it's probably unlikely. But if he did manage to make it onto that, then that would be absolutely phenomenal, and it would add some more money onto his value.
Yeah. Do you think he ends up staying? Is he there in 5 years' time?
I don't know, mate. I don't know anything anymore. I was pretty sure Grealish was going to stay with us. Obviously, Jacob Ramsey, he's a Villa boy, Villa fan, etc. But, mate, modern football, you just don't know anything this year. If someone comes in with some money and he wants to leave, then it probably goes. But I'd love to see him stay. And, mate, he's working under Gerrard. He's working with Coutinho. Mate, he's got all the resources he needs, but it depends on what personally he wants to do.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Gerrard goes to Liverpool, brings him. That would be one I wouldn't be surprised at.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, just looking at the Premier League table right now, Norwich are done for me now. I thought the game against Leeds was a very exciting one, but a very crucial 3 points for Leeds. Gives them a bit of breathing space from the bottom three. Just about 4 points. So, it looks like Leeds may be able to stay up. I think their fans would be quite pleased with that. It was a brilliant game as well against Norwich. But let's get on to these fixtures for the weekend. Like we said, it's a bit of a dry one. Only 4 games, so we'll kick it off on the Friday matchup. I was looking at tonight's game, which we've already covered. Friday, the 18th of March, Wolves against Leeds at Molineux Road. I'll go first. Like I said when I was talking about picking my team, I just struggled to see Leeds scoring in this one. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 Wolves win.
I don't think Leeds will struggle to score. I think they will score, which hence why I pointed out your 3 Wolves players earlier. But Wolves have been quite consistent this year. They've let in a few goals, but they've also scored a few goals. But I am going to go with a Wolves 2-1. But I do think this will be quite an interesting game. I'm quite happy it's televised and that we do have some football on a Friday.
Yeah. I think it's definitely an interesting game. Obviously tonight as well, Everton Newcastle if you fancy it. If not, you got some Europa League. But Yeah, it is actually kind of a good game on paper. I enjoy watching Wolves when they're not playing us. Against us, they just seem to irritate me, but I don't mind their style. I know they're quite defensive, but I think when you're not rooting against them, they can kind of be quite a fun team. Love Ruben Neves, me. So yeah, pretty decent game to watch. Saturday, Rod, the only game is Aston Villa against Arsenal. It's the early kickoff. It's the only kickoff. What are you saying?
Um, to be honest, mate, Arsenal they need a win to keep mounting pressure on the people around them, and to obviously try and just secure that fourth position. And I mean, it's probably quite hard to play when you haven't really got any motivation for finishing anywhere in it. Obviously, finishing as high as you can is brilliant, but the motivation will be less compared to if you need to secure a position. So I'm gonna go with an Arsenal 2-1 win.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? I just don't see you losing to you on the bounce. You've probably done it under Gerald already, but for some reason I just don't see it. I'm gonna go with a draw. I'm gonna go 1-1. Leicester against Brentford. What do you think about this one, Rod?
This is a pretty redundant game as well, isn't it? I think Brentford are pretty much safe. I mean, they're on 30 points. I think they're 9.8 points above Watford. I mean, yeah, I think they're pretty much safe. Leicester, I mean, quite disappointed this year.
Yeah, I do feel a bit bad for them. I think injuries really hindered them. I think the fact they lost Fofana before the start of the season was a massive injury. I was really impressed with him in previous years, and I think, at times having to play a Marty and Ndidi at centre back has definitely hindered them.
I am going to go with the Leicester 2-1 win, but I can't see it being a particularly great game. And I mean, both seasons are also redundant, so basically nothing to play for.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 2-2 result. I think Brentford are going to score. I was really impressed with them on the weekend, to be fair. I've been in and ahhing about bringing in Ivan Toney, but I'm not sure. I've gone with Ericsson. I'll probably leave it at that. So yeah, 2-2 for me. And the last game of the weekend, Rod, is Spurs against West Ham. I think this is a brilliant game to cap off this very dry weekend.
London derby, can't go wrong. Televised London derby. Both teams are around the same position. I fancy Spurs just edging it. I mean, I think if I'm right, West Ham play tonight, right?
Wait, do they play tonight? No, they don't. It's Everton versus Newcastle, but they do play in the Europa League.
That's what I mean, yeah, in the Europa League. I think they're going into it losing 1-0 on aggregate, and if they lose today, I think their heads will be down. Obviously, Spurs winning last night. I'm going to go with a Spurs 2-1 win.
I'm going to go for a hopeful result of 4-0 Spurs, just so Kane and Son do something in my fantasy team. But yeah, I think you made a good kind of observation. Obviously, they are at home. They're 1-0 down. I would be surprised if they didn't score tonight. But it could also be one of those ones where it's quite a zapping game where they go, maybe 120 minutes and have to go to extra time. To penalty, sorry. So yeah, it could be one of those where it's a slog of a game. So yeah, it's definitely one to keep your eye on tonight, just to see how it does implicate to Sunday's game. But yeah, Rod, that's the end of the show. Thank you very much for joining me.
No, it's always a pleasure, mate.
Yeah, so yeah, guys, be sure to, if you've made it this far and you actually enjoy our content, be sure to check out our video tomorrow where we'll be discussing the action from the Champions League. Just a bit of fun on the channel. Anyway, until then, we'll see you next time. Peace out.